In this training session, we are going to look at digital accessibility. We're going to explain why accessibility matters. We'll spot some common barriers. We'll apply best practice in Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, and we'll use the Microsoft Accessibility Assistant to find and fix issues. What is accessibility? Well, accessibility in the context of documents means designing and formatting content so that everyone, including people with disabilities, can access, understand, navigate, and interact with it effectively. It's about removing barriers so that the documents are usable by people who rely on screen readers, people with cognitive or processing differences, or people with motor impairments who may need to use alternative devices like keyboard navigation, voice commands, etc. There are two key pieces of legislation that we need to be aware of when we're talking about accessibility. One is the Equality Act 2010. This means that Newbury College has a duty to avoid discrimination and make reasonable adjustments. The other one is the Public Sector Body's Accessibility Regulations 2018. This requires public sector bodies to make online content accessible, and that includes documents that are published on our website or on SharePoint, Teams, etc. I'd like you to imagine for a moment that you have one of the following barriers. What would prevent you from accessing a document if you had a visual impairment or a cognitive or processing difference? Remember, accessible documents also need to be mobile friendly, searchable, and faster to skim read. These are some of the barriers that I've come up with. There's no one size fits all, but I've tried to divide them equally between visual impairment and processing differences. However, the list isn't exhaustive, and you may have come up with others or identify some more as we go along. For example, someone with a visual impairment may require alternative text on images. They may struggle with low color contrast. They may require a decent heading structure for navigation. Or text may be trapped within a scanned image. The font may be hard to read, especially if it's decorative or italic. Some of these are also the same for people with processing differences. But some additional ones might be that the text is too dense or doesn't have enough space. There may be complex language or jargon that makes it difficult to understand. Few signposts, for example, bullet points, lists, visuals, charts, these can all help people with processing differences. There may be distracting colors or animations, or it may not be compatible with the software that they use for text-to-speech. Something that exists within documents, but we rarely see, is the metadata. Metadata is information stored about the document, usually within its properties. One key bit of metadata is the title in a document's properties. This title can help screen readers and search engines identify exactly what that document is. The title field is a short, meaningful name for the document. In Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, you usually set this by going to File, Info, and then looking for the Properties section where you can add the title. Like I said before, screen readers and file lists can usually announce the document title, helping users to confirm that they've opened the correct file. We're now going to do a short activity. In this activity, you will open a document called Banana Cake. You will then format it using different styles, add some alternative text to the image, format the lists correctly, and then change the theme, page color, and even add a page border before adding a title and checking the accessibility. Okay, so let's start with this document here for Banana Cake. Now, there's not much really wrong with this document. However, there are areas where we can improve the accessibility. To start with, let's give it a title. Now, one of the big problems that I see a lot is that to make a title, somebody would select this text, and then they would maybe change the font size, make it bold. We don't want to do that. So I'm just going to undo those changes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select styles here from the top bar. And within styles, I can actually turn it into a title. And it's as easy as that. It's now increased the size and it's added that important metadata behind it to say that this is a heading style of title. Next, let's move down. Here's a picture of a banana cake. Now, you know it's a banana cake, I know it's a banana cake. However, the computer doesn't currently know that it's a banana cake. So what I'm going to do is let's just click on there and then right click, and I'm going to go to View Alt Text. Now the alternative text here will help a screen reader or other assistive software to know what this image is. Now I could just type in this box, picture of a banana cake, or I could use the button that says generate alt text for me, and it will use a little bit of AI magic to scan the picture and tell me what it is. If I approve of that, I can tick the button that says approve alt text, and that's done for me. If I wasn't quite sure that maybe that's not the best description, I could add to it. So let's say on a plate with a monkey and a fork. And that's done. Next, let's scroll down. Now, the word ingredients, that is going to be another style. So let's go to styles here and change that to a heading. Now, you'll see that I've got heading 1 and heading 2. It doesn't give me two options just because it wants to give me choices. There's actually a hierarchy here. Heading 1 is the most important type of heading. And then under that, you'll have heading 2, heading 3, etc. So here I'm going to turn this into a heading 1 because it's one of the main headings. Again, I don't have to go change the size of the font, make it bold, do anything like that. I simply go into styles and select headings. Now, here from 3 very ripe bananas all the way down to the 2 tablespoons of milk, that is going to be an unordered list or bullet points. So if I go up to here and select bullet points, it turns it into a nice bullet point list. The reason I've chosen bullet points is because these ingredients aren't necessarily in any order. I don't have to add them in this order. They may be in size order. They could be in any order, really. This is just a list of ingredients that I need to have ready for the cake. Next is the method. So I'm going to select the word method, and these are my instructions. So this is another heading. So let's go to styles, and it's going to be heading 1 again, because it's just as important as the other heading that we have up here. However, the list of instructions underneath does need to follow a specific order. So let's select these. I'm going to go all the way down to cool fully. And instead of selecting bullet points, this time I'm going to select a numbered list or an ordered list because I want these to follow in a particular order. And there we have my ordered list. I'm going to scroll down. Next is my optional extras. Now the optional extras are optional extra steps within my method that I might want to do. So here I'm going to go up to style, and this is where I'm actually going to add heading 2, because this is, I don't want to use the word subheading necessarily, but it's a heading underneath heading 1. So I'm going to select that, and then let's select these last 2 options, and I'm going to turn those into bullet points, because again, We don't have to follow either of them, and we certainly don't have to follow them in any order. They're just options. So I'm going to use my unordered list for bullet points there. Now, looking down at our accessibility checker, down here, it says good to go. You'll have noticed earlier it said investigate. Now, if I click on that, you can see here that my accessibility assistant comes up and it says it's good to go. The color and contrast is okay. The media and illustrations have the correct alternative text in. That has its alternative text. I don't have any tables, and the document structure has nice headings within there. So all of my accessibility is good to go. However, there is one more thing that I need to add, and that's the metadata behind this document. So if I go to File, Info, and then look at this Properties panel here, you'll see that it's asking for a title. And over here on the title, I can actually add a recipe for banana cake. Now, this is very important because this title metadata is what's used by search engines and screen readers in order to identify what this document is, or find this document if we've uploaded it to SharePoint or the website. Then I can save a copy, or if I'm using this on the cloud in Office 365, it will save automatically. Now, you might say, this document is very accessible, but it's also very boring. It's not very colorful. It's not very inviting. Now, what we can do is we can go up to the Design tab, and here you can select different design formats to change the whole look of this document. So I might actually go for that one. I might want to change the colors. So this is for a banana cake. So let's use some sort of reddy orange colors that reflect that picture. And I might want to change the font. So let's go down, make it a bit more classy. So I'm going to add maybe that font to it. Already I'm making a difference to my document, but you'll see here in the accessibility assistant that it's still easy to read, and I've ticked all of those boxes. I can even go in and maybe change the page color. So let's go there. I'm going to make this a light yellow or light gold. There you go, just like bananas. And let's add a page border. So I'm going to go in here and let's make it really fancy. I'm going to go in and I'm going to select some palm trees. So I'm going to press OK on there. And my accessibility assistant still says that this is good to go. And it's looking very nice. Remember to keep things short and simple. Using plain English makes things more accessible. It makes things easier to read and understand the first time, especially students with dyslexia or processing needs. And it can reduce confusion for parents and other stakeholders. You can use Copilot to simplify the language in your document. For example, say, rewrite the following in plain English for students or parents. Keep the meaning, dates and requirements, but use short sentences and bullets. Let's take a look at another activity. In this one, I've got some very complex language and some other accessibility issues. What we'll do is open the Seeds PowerPoint. We'll identify and address those accessibility issues. We'll then add a title to the metadata like we did before, and we'll check the accessibility. Let's take a look at this wonderful PowerPoint slide that I've made. It's really beautiful. I've got nice organic shades of green and organic font going on. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but it's very, very pretty. However, the accessibility assistant is flagging up a few things. So if I open the accessibility assistant here, then it's showing me quite a few things that we could address. So within that, it's highlighted 4 things. I think there's probably a few more as well. So let's get cracking on with that. I'm going to close the accessibility assistant for now. And let's take a look at this to start with. So we've got this green font on a green background. Not very easy to see. So let's address the contrast first. Let's go in here and I'm going to select all of that text and I'm going to change it to black. And I'm also going to go up here and I'm going to change that from the Blackadder font to the simple Aptos font there. And I'm going to do the same for the heading. So let me just select all of that. Let's change that to Aptos, make it black, and then I'm going to remove the italics, the underline, and the drop shadow there as well. Now, it doesn't all quite fit yet, but don't worry, we're going to address this because there's an awful lot of text on this page, far too much for a PowerPoint slide. And you'll see that most of the words they're very important words that students may need to learn. It's a bit heavy for a PowerPoint slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this here. So instead of that, let's just say converting biomass to oil. And I'm going to select that text and maybe just make it slightly smaller. There, I've got my heading. If I wanted to, I could remove that background as well. So let's just go no fill. And already it's looking less cluttered. Speaking of clutter, I've got these pictures down here. Let's just move them out the way for a moment. I'll probably delete them shortly. In fact, let's just get rid of them altogether. Now, this text here, also very heavy. So let's take all of that. Instead of retyping it, what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to go to Copilot and I'm going to say, please simplify. Always say please, because when the AI robots take over, you want to be on their side. So please simplify the following text into simple UK English and turn it into bullet points suitable for a PowerPoint slide. And then I will just paste the text there that I've taken and I'm going to press go. And here we go. I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy it, go back to my presentation, and I can paste that in there. Now I do have to just go through, do a little bit of formatting here. So you just do that. Now, it may be that I want to simplify that further. However, that's a reasonable amount to be showing on my PowerPoint slide. Next, let's take a look over here at the picture of a chart. It's not actually a chart, it's a picture of a chart, and I've got the data underneath it as well. Now, the problem with a picture of a chart is that screen readers or people with visual difficulties may struggle to see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into an actual chart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my data down here and I'm just going to copy that. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to insert a chart. And I'm going to use a chart similar to the one that is there already. In fact, that is that type of chart. So let's go OK. And I'm going to paste the information here. So let's copy that. Yes. I don't need that last one. So let's delete that column. And there I have my chart. It's looking very similar to that already. So let me move that one out of the way for a sec. And I can put my chart over here. And I can change the colors of this chart if I wanted to. So let's move that out of the way and go to my chart design, and I can change the colors. There we go. So that matches the original, or I might say, oh, I want to stick with that green theme, or maybe go with a different theme altogether. And I can add my data to it. So let's add some chart elements, and we're going to put the data labels on there. So exactly the same as that one over there. And I can even add that data table underneath, which means I can get rid of my table, which is there. And I can give that a title. So this is oil yield. And let's get rid of this picture here. Spelt yield wrong. So let's go in and correct the word yield so it's actually spelt correctly. There we go. Now let's go to investigate. Let's see what I still have to do. So I've got some missing alt text. So let's say what this is about. So this is chart showing the difference between different types of biomass and their oil yield. And I spelled yield correctly this time. So let's press save, and we are good to go. We've addressed all of the different issues here, and there it is. What's one thing you'll take away from today's training? I'd like you to pick a document that you regularly share. Maybe it's a handout, an assignment brief, a policy, or a presentation. I'd like you to run, review, check accessibility, and fix the issues that it comes up with.